Good afternoon. I'm here with Ethan Hernandez, a.k.a. E. Carson, Robert Maldonado, Reverberated Beats. Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, just use the mic. Just messing with you. We have you guys here today because just a lot of folks that have been asking, who are these guys? What are they about? There's a lot of buzz about the new album coming out.
Yes.
And so, if you guys don't mind, I'd kind of like to get a little bit of information from you guys. How would you like for me to refer to you? E. Carson?
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay, all right.
Perfect.
Mr. E. Carson, let me ask you, first of all, how long have you been in the game, so to speak?
Since I was 5, but recording-wise, since freshman year in high school, just for the fact that I didn't have the ability to record, and then someone brought me up, and I was like really grateful for that.
Strictly from a musician standpoint, because you have your fan that just likes the music, but you also have the musician that listens, and you kind of listen to an album in a completely different way. Can I ask you, are you a fan of hip-hop? Are you a fan of music in general? Influence-wise, are you coming at this strictly to perfect the art of hip-hop? Are you coming at this from a musical standpoint saying, you know what, I really want to explore what hip-hop can be?
As a musical standpoint, of course, always, I'm in love with hip-hop. That's the main thing I grew up on. Of course, genres of music, it's balanced. I listen to country, R&B, pop, but I want to perfect the game for the fact that there's so much going on in hip-hop right now. Of course, everyone's familiar with the new age of hip-hop right now, and it's just going back and forth. So I kind of want to jump in as the doors are wide open, saying, all right, here I am. So,
outstanding, outstanding. May I call you Reverberated Beats? Robert, which one would you prefer?
Reverberated Beats.
Okay, well, Mr. Reverberated, may I ask you, how long have you been in the game, and do you work mainly on the production side? Are you the one who masters and mixes the beats? I mean, what all do you do in this collaboration?
Well, I started the summer after my freshman year, and it was me and my friend Evan McGrew. We started doing just putting random loops together in the program, and then I started up with a new program. It was new to me, FL Studio, which was so complicated for me at the time, and I just started messing with it. I taught myself the whole thing. Like, I already know most of everything about it right now. And I met Ethan back in my 8th grade year in theater. And we've been friends ever since then. And then he gave me the opportunity to make a beat for him for Alive by Death, and that song is now called Glory to God, which is on Blind and Silent currently. And just ever since then, I've been slowly getting better with my beat making skills as well as my production skills, like behind the computer, recording him and mixing and mastering. I'm doing all that for him right now. So.
Outstanding, outstanding. Are you available to do that for other artists?
Yeah, I am.
Outstanding. We'll see if we can get some information from you guys to see how others can get in contact with you for other services.
Yeah.
We'll do that a little bit later. I do want to ask, right now, E. Carson, you're going through a little bit of an identity transition. I know you did start out as Little E for the Blind and Silent album. Of course, that's available on Amazon and all digital stores where music is sold. And on that album, there's a lot of collaborations. There's a pretty good variety of music styles on there. Was that an experimentation? Was that just a way to start out to introduce yourself? What was really the focus of, were you looking for yourself musically, stylistically? What was really the target, the story behind Blind and Silent?
Well, Blind and Silent was 4 years in the making. It was an idea I had back in 2012, and I was with the group Alive by Death, which I still am, but it was more time where we were all together. So making it was kind of hard for the fact we all had our certain stuff to do, and we also had a group project. So whenever we broke off, sort of doing our own thing at the time, I met Robert, of course, Reverberated, sorry. And the reason there was a lot of collaborations was I wanted to make sure that people understood that I'm not gonna just go at this alone, that I want to make sure that everyone knew, like, okay, I'm not ignoring talent whatsoever,
Sure.
because I'm starting out as well. So it made it easier for me to connect with other people, and of course, most of the collaborations on the album, I found these people at Fine Arts, which is a thing through the AG church, and it's great for the fact that I went to Fine Arts to meet these people because they're really good friends of mine. I trust these people, and it's like through these collaborations, we got closer, and we're able to make music. And now in North Carolina, which some of my features are from, people there know me, and then in Lubbock, people know me because I have a feature on there that's from Lubbock, and of course Sweetwater, I have a feature from there. People know me there, so it's like it helped me branch out with all the collaborations. And Blind and Silent was, we can say it was rushed. We can say Blind and Silent was very rushed, but at the same time, it was. I think it's good that it was rushed, because the second album that we are finished with now was way faster, was way easier, because we know what we're doing and we can work under pressure.
Sure. Can you talk to us a little bit about the name change? You went from Lil E, of course now E. Carson. Talk to us a little bit about what motivated that. Is there a specific story behind it?
Yeah. Okay, so I was in the studio one day, and I was hitting up one of my features, Samson Soldiers, and he was like, dude, you need to change your name. And I was like, why? He's like, there's a lot of little E's out there. Don't you want to stick out? And I was like, man, it's like, I don't know. Lil E just kind of grew on me. And then like I went to iTunes and Spotify, and I was already getting complaints because there's another guy named Lil E, and his content isn't very clean. It's very explicit. So they're like, man, I don't have Spotify Premium, so when I play Shuffle with you, it might go to someone else. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I felt really bad. And so I was like, you know what? I was like, Samson, if you find me another name and it fits with me, I'll stick with it. And he sent me an E. Carson. And I was like, well, why do you think this? And he sent me the definitions of Carson, and one of them was, isn't able to express himself out there except through his art and verbally through his music and whatnot. And I was like, wow, that fits me. And like all the definitions he has, it was just weird how it all fit. So I was like, I might do it. And then after a while, I was like, yeah, it grew on me. So, but yeah, everyone gets it confused if it's either E. Carson or Eckerson, and I have to like tell them there's a space right there, E space Carson. So
There you go.
yeah, that's why.
Outstanding. That sounds pretty makes sense. Let me ask you guys both. Reverberated. Let me start with you. Talk to me about some of your musical influences when it comes to your approach to your art, as to how you create music. Is there a specific style that you go for? Do you consider yourself eclectic? What is your definition, I guess?
Well, like for influences, I would listen to Lecrae and Derek Minor, especially Derek Minor. I don't know, like something about his beats, it just makes me want to like, I don't know, like start bobbing my head and like, hey, and then I don't know, like for example, All Hail the King by Derek Minor on his Empire album. I got some influences from that song for a few songs on Blind and Silent, as well as on Showtime, and that's just, I don't know, it's just, I don't know, Derek Minor he's just a really great artist, and I love his production work. And then going back to Lecrae, well, he has his own little team with Gabi, Alex Medina, all them. I listen to all them too. I kind of study what they're doing, like as in playing with different sounds and doing different drum patterns and stuff like that. So I try to mimic the same ones, but not like exactly the same. Just add my own little taste to it. And yeah, that's basically it. I listen just to those few people right there.
E. Carson, your musical influences?
Man, I have a lot. Sadly to say, most of them aren't rap. You know, I grew up on a lot of genres, like I said before. So like, you might have rap influence from Eminem, and yet you might have like a beat that I really like that he makes, and it'd be like a Justin Timberlake type beat. And it's just the way that I grew up around music. So I like to study different artists' lyrics, like Tech Nine. That dude's crazy, insane. The way he spits, it's like, why can't I do that? Like sometimes you don't understand what he's saying, but it makes perfect sense after you study the lyrics. And of course, Eminem, crazy lyricist, storytelling. That's one thing that I did on the second album, Showtime. Hence the name. I wanted to get deeper into telling the story, and so I was like, how do I do this? And of course, growing up, I listened to him and was like, okay, this is he set the planning out. And now maturing, of course, you got NF, sick rapper out there right now who's killing the game, and it's crazy because he put his own taste into his music, and for the longest time, everyone thought he was mimicking Eminem. But at the same time, you have to realize that every artist has something from another artist. It's just whether or not you're gonna turn it into your own or you're gonna mimic the whole thing. And that's one thing I liked about him, because going through making an album, they're like, oh, you sound like this person on this song, you sound like this person on this song. And then at the end, I'm like, I might sound like that, but I sound like me.
Sure.
So there's a lot of influences from pop to rap, but I make sure to bring them all in to make sure I make myself at the same time.
Let's move into the new album, Showtime. Writing. Do you just take care of music and you just take care of lyrics? Do you guys collaborate in the whole thing together? Talk to me about the making of Showtime and how you guys work together to bring that creation about.
Well, I would usually just provide the beat and then I'd send it to him, and sometimes he would tell me, hey, can you change this up a little bit and like maybe move this over here, or can you put like a break in here and over here and make it fade out, something like that. He would sometimes help me make the beat itself, and then when it comes to lyrics, well, that's all him.
Yeah, I'm all lyrics because I feel like, of course, there's people who want to throw their ideas in my music, you know, say, oh, you should say this, and you should say that, and it's like, it's dope at the moment, but at the same time, it's like, that's not really for me. So, the way, when I write my lyrics, that's all me, but like, if I deliver it a certain way, and he doesn't like it, then it's like, okay, let's see what we got to work with. Like, why didn't you like this? And he'll tell me, okay, you should have said this like this instead of this, or you should have said it right here instead of here. Because he's the beat guy, so he knows where all the parts are, the breaks, and it's a weird process. But we never get into a real argument with making the music. Like, I'll say, okay, that needs to stay, and he'll be like, why? And it's like, because I feel like that needs to stay. And then like after a couple of days, you're like, okay, I see it. And then he'll take something out for my thing. I'm like, why? Like, I'll fight. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I get really defensive. I'm like, why do you think that should be taken out? It's like, it just doesn't fit. And like after a while, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. But going back to the production, yeah, I like with this album, Blind and Silent. I wasn't hands-on as I was with this album, Showtime. I'd actually call it, like, if he was making a beat and I knew about it, which now he doesn't let me know half the time. He'll do it secretly. But if I know that he's making a beat, I'll call him and be like, dude, come to my house and let's do this. Because I really wanted to be hands-on with this project, and he allowed me to do that with some songs on the album. Because while he was making the beat, I was like, okay, that fits there. And he'd do it to see how it sounded. He would never just shut me down right away. He'd be like, okay, let's see if that actually works. And sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. You know, we live and learn. So yeah, it was a real good thing.
Reverberated, let me ask you, why Ethan? Or why E. Carson? Is it just because you're friends? Is it an opportunity to throw yourself into what it is that he believes in? On some level, sometimes producers have to be sold on the person and not just the project. And so I guess what I'm asking is, why E. Carson?
Well, like I said, we were friends since 8th grade, and he's the one that gave me the chance to, start working with him. And then it's just ever since then, I feel like, this dude's like a brother to me right now, and I'm just really grateful he gave me the chance to start producing for him, and as well as Alive by Death. And they also added me into the group Alive by Death, so I am the official music producer.
Wow.
And I don't know, I feel like God put him in a certain position to where I can meet him and then talk to him and then, work with him while he's also doing his own thing with writing raps and just performing.
Outstanding, outstanding. Let me ask you another question, E. Carson, and this goes into more specifically talking about the album Showtime.
Okay.
And that is, as we mentioned earlier, it seemed as though there was a pretty good variety of styles, musically, lyrically, topics, subjects, different features from different artists from different parts of the country. But then when you get into Showtime, it seems to be more of a personal, almost a singular thought going through the whole album, in the sense of even down to the order of the songs. It appears as though you're going from one thought to another thought to another thought. Am I reading into that incorrectly? Was there an actual thought going from song to song? Talk to us about why the change up in Showtime stylistically as opposed to Blind and Silent.
Yeah. One thing going into Blind and Silent, I always told myself, and I always told Reverberated Beats, was that I don't want to care what people think. I'm gonna go in and do it. But making Blind and Silent, there was still a little part of me saying, okay, let's make sure we don't offend that person. Let's make sure we stay off this subject. Let's make sure we don't do that. And seeing how it worked out, I just hit a point in my life after the album where it was like, I could have said so much more. And these people, I don't want to present myself as fake, because I don't want one person to see me perform and then another person say, well, he's going through this right now, so how can he do that? I never want to come off as fake. So
Sure.
Making Showtime, I did have one thought, and it was to present something to the people, saying this is my life and this is how I live. So of course the name Showtime tells you that there's a storyline to it, to show. And as you hit up on it, it is one singular thought through the whole album, but it jumps to different scenes. So of course the first song introduces the story, and the last song ties in the story all together. So everything in between is a journey through it, in which I hope listeners actually find that, because that was one thing at first that scared me a lot. Was like, what if they don't get it? What if they don't understand, like, okay, this happened, and they take it the wrong way? And then after a while, I just had to realize, like, I can't care what people think anymore. This is my story. If they have something to say about it, well, they need to come live my life and let me know what I'm doing wrong, because I know what's going on in my life and other people don't. Which I actually do touch up on that in the album, in the story, because you always have those people who want to come in and say, that didn't happen. Like, what do you mean? I just did it. It was my life. Like, come on, you can't tell me what didn't happen. And so, there's a lot of people out there who want to say your story for you. And I was like, well, let me beat them to it and let me say my story the way it needs to be said. And so therefore, that's how Showtime was. What was made was for the fact that I just wanted to put my own thoughts out there. Because when you're making music, one thing you have to keep in consideration, which we all know, is the listener, who we going for. And at first, I was like, well, I want to go for the kids who think just like me, who've been through the situation just like me. And now I think I'm at a point where it's not that I don't care about who's the listener or what target I'm going for, but it's more like if you want the best artist out of me, if you want the best lyricist out of me, the best rapper out of me, you're gonna have to let me grow on my own idea, and I can't just snatch what you're going through and act like I've been through it. So that was Showtime just saying, this is my life, this is what I've gone through, here's all my baggage, love it or hate it.
Very interesting, very interesting. Let me ask you another question, because this goes into those who either have seen you live, and I've had the opportunity to see you live, and that was a really dope show.
Thank you.
And there's a lot of passion that comes out as you're performing. The show I saw you at was actually here at this venue, and this is a church. And so early Christian artists or hip-hop artists really went after it as a ministry. That this is a ministry, this is a calling, this is what God's called me to do, and I'm going to do this. And quite honestly, the gripe with early Christian hip-hop artists was that some of the music was just cheesy. As you evolve, in today's genre of Christian hip-hop, is kind of almost vague.
Yeah.
In the sense that some of your bigger Grammy-nominated hip-hop artists don't even wear the label of Christian rap. You got groups like Skillet that are touring with Nickelback, and as well as going to just hard rock music festivals that have nothing to do with Christianity, nothing to do with church. So I guess the question for you guys is, what's the goal? Are you approaching this as a ministry? Are you doing music for church people? Is it the goal to make sure that you minister to church people? Are you just trying to make good music? What's the goal with you guys? Who are you? If the person watching the video says, I'd kind of like to be interested in having these guys, but we're not really church people, or if the church person's watching this and says, I want them to come minister at our church, can you or do you do either one of those things? Is that the goal?
One thing that while making music is, the goal is making good music. I don't want to limit anything out. My music can be played while your kid's in the back seat, and you don't got to worry about him saying a word that he shouldn't say, and then, of course, it just goes on with that. But as far as venues, it's entertainment. I'm not gonna lie. Going in, it's entertainment, but one thing you can't deny is the message in the music. Like, that's something that no one can deny. There's always gonna be a message in a song. It just depends on whether or not you're willing to listen to it. So entertainment for sure. I'm willing to go to any venue, anyone who asks me to go, I'll go there if it's the right timing, the right thing to do. And if they just want entertainment, I can do it. If they want ministry, I can do it. But either way, you're gonna get something through the music because the message is in there, and you can't take that out.
Reverberated?
Well, I agree with Ethan. I mean, like he said, we can do any venue in a church or just even at a bar or whatever. Just either way, his music is gonna impact some person's life, and then you never know. Like, let's say this person at a bar listens to Ethan's music, and he listens to certain songs that don't really include, I guess, God mentioned in there. He's gonna listen to his music some more, and then he's gonna wind up listening to a song that does mention God, and then he's gonna be like, well, who's God, and what is this? Like, basically plants the seeds. Like, that's what we're trying to do, basically.
Sure. Man, that's fantastic. Let me ask you this. I've been around certain Christian artists and have heard certain Christian artists mention the pressure. They've said, I feel pressured, and I think you've touched a little bit on this in regards to, I feel pressure to make sure I say Jesus enough in the album.
Yeah.
Or to make sure that I mention God enough in the album, or, do you worry about, and you've talked a little bit about this, and Reverberated, I'd like for you to chime in a little bit on this, in regards to feeling pressure from one way or the other when it comes to creativity, when it comes to creating the art. How much pressure do you feel, and how do you handle that pressure whenever you're making music?
You want to take this one first?
Yeah. Well, the pressure's still there, but it's not. It used to like hit me hard, but that pressure kind of just faded away to me because I feel like I need to do what I need to do as well as like that's included in God's plan for me. I feel like what I'm doing is right with Ethan, and I really don't want to stop.
The pressure is real. I can't deny that. The pressure is real. Everyone wants to know, if you say Jesus in every song, everyone wants to know what you stand for. And making Blind and Silent, the pressure was hitting me so hard because it was like, you're coming out with your first album, so everyone wants to know, what are you representing?
Yeah.
And at the time, I was like, well, I need to say Jesus in every song, every time. But then after hearing Blind and Silent and putting it out there, it worked, but at the same time, I was like, I don't want to take Christian hip hop all the way back to 2000 where it was cheesy. You touched on that. It was very cheesy. And at one point, I was just like, this pressure needs to go away. If these people don't know what I stand for, then they're not really looking into me.
Yeah.
They're just looking to see what they want to see. And so with this album, I was like, put the pressure away. This is who I am. If you don't think I love Jesus, well then that's what you think, and I can't help you. I can't change that whatsoever, because a person's mind, if they have an opinion about someone, it stays like that for a good while, and you can't change it half the time. So the pressure is very real, and to anyone doing hip hop or Christian hip hop, whatever you want to call it at the time, that's one thing you have to keep in mind is there is a lot of people watching you for the fact of what you're speaking about, and it's your choice whether or not you're going to let the pressure hit you to the point where you don't want to do it anymore, or if you're going to be like, okay, the pressure, go away, this is the art. Because that's one thing that I have to see it as. This is my calling, but at the same time, rap is an art. Rap is a sport to me. I'm very competitive. You don't hear people at a football game yelling Jesus 24/7. They get angry if their team doesn't score a point or whatnot, and it's like, oh Jesus, I just feel like that's one thing people gotta understand is this is a sport to me. So whatever I want to talk about, I'm gonna talk about, and like I said before, the message is clearly in the music. So if you think I'm not representing Jesus, then you need to listen a little bit deeper and read in between the lines.
Yeah. You've mentioned a little bit, you mentioned, God's plan for your life. You mentioned fine arts, and I believe you mentioned AG, which would be referring to Assemblies of God.
Yes.
I happen to know from a little birdie that you've been to nationals a couple of times.
Very couple of times, yes.
Basically it's basically a competition. You just kind of go to a nearby town, you perform, you're judged, and you have to be invited to go to nationals.
Yes.
And you've traveled, I think it's to Kentucky,
Ohio, and then
Orlando, Florida. And so this is something that would appear, you're not just starting out in the game, so to speak.
No, veteran.
For some that may not be familiar, that's how NF got into the game.
Yeah.
Was this intentional? Is fine arts, is that something that's important to you as far as, are you deeply involved in your church and things of that nature? How much does faith and church play a role in your life and also in your music?
it plays a lot. On the fine arts part, I'm very grateful for fine arts. Just for the reason it gave me an opportunity to perform, and then being invited to all those places, you know, Ohio, Kentucky, and Orlando. It's crazy going there and then meeting other people who are rapping the same thing you're rapping about. Because at some points, being in Snyder, I feel like I'm the only Christian rapper per se, and it's like, is there anyone else out there? And going to fine arts, you meet those people who are just like you, and of course, on Blind and Silent, it's heavy with features from people who I met at fine arts, and it's just a cool community. I don't think it was intentional that going there, seeing that NF did it too, and that's how he came up. I didn't really know about that till later on when I looked into it, but I think it's cool, and it kind of helps me a lot to know that, okay, someone did it, which Gavi also went to fine arts as well and competed in nationals, so it's like, I'm not the only artist doing it.
Blanca and Manuel from Groove One Crew also went through fine arts.
Yeah, I think, yes, Blanca did tell us that. Fun story, no one knows this, so, not for real, not even the people who went with me to Kentucky know this. So, fun story, Blanca, she was performing in Kentucky. She was actually the one of the highlight performances for fine arts. And so what it is you have a big old concert with all these people, and she was one of them. Well, she was staying at one of my friends from fine arts, Samson, David, and Ace. So she stayed in the same hotel they're at. And so we're chilling in the lobby, going up to like the 15th floor, I really don't remember. And we actually saw her going through the hallways, and I memorized the floor. David and Ace don't know this, so if they're watching this, I'm sorry. So we leave. They got to talk to her because they saw her first. So like I see this as this was an opportunity. But I saw her on the floor. I saw her on one of the floors, and I was like, "Yo, can you check out my music?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure. My hotel room's over here if y'all want to come in." And I was like, "I'm definitely down." So I showed her some of my music. Don't be mad at me, Ace or David. And it was cool because she gave me advice, and I really enjoyed it. She's actually a cool person. I hope she remembers me. If not, it's okay. Shout out to her. But it was a crazy time in Kentucky, and yeah, that's a side story. But okay, continue.
Well, I was just
saying that is a very cool community because besides Blanca, also the heavy metal group Red, among other, there's a lot of artists that have come through fine arts, and so I don't know if that was intentional, and I think you've already kind of talked about it. The church is very important, or an influence in your life. God an influence. Robert, Reverberated, can you speak a little bit about how your faith plays into your craft, into your art, and how you really approach that?
Well, okay. With my faith, I've been struggling this past year, like questioning a bunch about God's existence, and then I don't know, something just came over me one day, and I'm just like, what am I doing? What is this? Like, God is real. He's there. He's putting me through these situations, so I learn from them and just be better. So that happened like earlier this year, and to be honest, I'm still looking for a home church because I feel like I kind of distanced myself with my old one. But I still love God. I know He's there. I still pray, and He gives me this special talent of making music, putting it together, mixing and mastering. Like, I couldn't do that without Him. Like, it's just, I don't know, I really appreciate everything He's done for me, and I just praise Him for that.
Amen. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys taking time out to talk to us about the new album that's coming out, Showtime. I'm sure that's going to be available on all digital stores as well, Amazon. Yes. Can you talk about the release date and how people can get a hold of the album?
Okay, well, it'll be available in all digital stores, so there's no excuse. If you don't buy CDs, it's okay. It is on Spotify. It's gonna be everywhere. It's gonna be dope. Which so is Blind and Silent. Get that plug in. But Showtime, we're actually gonna go bigger and better with this album. We have a major thing coming out with it. If you didn't know this, I have movie posters. Hint, hint.
Wow.
So I got these big old movie posters going on. They're really sick. I was gonna bring one in here, but we had no idea where to put it. It's pretty big. But Showtime is gonna be 10 times bigger than Blind and Silent. Of course, we were surprised at the success Blind and Silent had, because it was the first album, and we're like, what? Like, it was crazy. But Showtime, I think you get a Grammy. They said just wait out. I said nah, it's Grammy status. But it's gonna be available everywhere. We're actually gonna have merch for this album, which we probably will touch on a little bit of Blind and Silent merch, but Showtime will definitely have merch to it. There's just a lot of big things coming through with this album. Of course, every week I've dropped something to basically promote the album. October 3rd, I dropped an EP. Let's see, the Wednesday after that one, I dropped an unofficial single. It's not really gonna be on the album, but it's there. What's coming this Monday or Wednesday? Is it Monday or Wednesday?
Might be Wednesday.
It's Wednesday because it's Monday, yeah. Wednesday we'll be dropping an official single for the album, which was very hard to choose from. I'm not gonna lie. This dude was like, which one's single material? I was like, that one. He's like, nah, album. I was like, all right. And then he goes, what about this one? I was like, nah, that's, people gotta wait for that one. Album. And so it's very hard to choose with this album, and this album I can say will blow people's minds. I know you've got to listen to it a little bit, and I appreciate everything you've told me about it, of course. And some other people have heard it too. There's like, nothing was ever final with this album at one point. Like, if you check his laptop, it's like mastered version 1
Version 2 through 7.
through 7. Like, there's not a final point to this thing, and we just had to be like, all right, it's time for us to release it. There was a lot of tracks going through this, and you touched on the features, on how Blind and Silent was heavily featured.
Yeah.
This album only has one feature, so like, people get to hear the story from me, and even that feature, I was like, I know you can kill it, but here's a little bit of what I want you to talk about. Like, I slid that in there real fast, but Showtime will be available everywhere. Something's gonna come out with it to promote it even more. Probably a little bit after the album, I'm looking on going on a mini tour, because I am in college, so a full blown out tour just ain't gonna work for me, because I can't get behind anymore. But a mini tour will definitely happen. It'll be out in all digital stores. CDs will be available very soon after the album is released, and yeah, 10 times bigger.
Do you have an official date release of the album?
Should we tell them?
I don't know. Should we tell them?
Since it's you, I'll tell you.
I appreciate that.
I mean, you did get the album out of me, so since it's you, I'll tell you. It's October 31st. We figured, we started promoting, I named October, I renamed it E-tober, because I was going to drop something every week, and so I figured since we started dropping stuff on a Monday, October 3rd, ended out on a Monday, because Mondays are just horrible, so I thought I might as well enlighten them.
There you go. That's
So October 31st is when it'll drop, and let's make Halloween a little bit more scarier. Let's get it going.
Well, that's fantastic. Can we talk a little bit about booking information? I know folks are going to be interested once they hear the album. How can we get a hold of you guys? How can we have you guys come in? You mentioned you're in college. Reverberated, are you in school as well?
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, both of you guys obviously have schedules you have to keep. Are you available for booking? And if so, how do people get a hold of you?
Yes, I'm definitely available. I'm looking at you. Definitely available.
That's right.
You can get us at Carson Music 1990, and then put an X, so not 199 reverberated@gmail.com. There, just email us from there, and we'll be able to set you with our information, such as what you shall expect from us, more than just getting the crowd lit. We bring a good show. We also have a drummer. He's not here right now. He's on one of those scheduled times where he's at school. So, but we make sure to do everything. What you expect from us, we give you 10 times more of that. And I appreciate every opportunity that comes my way. Of course, you spoke on the performance here. I'm glad you loved it, because I was kind of shaky at one point.
Oh, it was lit, man. It was cool.
That's what I'm talking
It was
about.
cool.
I was a little worried, but if he enjoys it, y'all enjoy it. I promise you. He's a hard critic. I know it.
I don't like everything I see for sure, but I
Uh-huh.
did enjoy the show. Now, speaking of shows, you've got one coming up.
Yes.
Do you have a final date for that? Do you have any information you could provide? I know there's going to be another show here at this venue.
Mhm.
We're presently at 1809 College Avenue here in Snyder, Texas. And so, do you have another date? I know you had talked about doing another show here.
Yes, I'm looking for the beginning of November, just to let the album breathe a little, because when you perform new music, you have those people in the front row just like they don't know what to do, they don't know how to react, they don't know the words to the album,
Yeah.
and catchy hooks help a lot, but it only gets you so far.
Yeah.
And I focus on how the crowd's reacting. So if the crowd is hyping me up, you're gonna get a better version of me. But if it's just me running on my own hype, it's enough. You can ask people around me. It's enough to get it going, but at the same time, just help a brother out, be a little bit rough there.
A little bit more alive.
Yeah, so we'll definitely be doing the show here again, beginning of sometime in November, because this month was hectic. We were supposed to do it when we scheduled the 29th. We scheduled the 29th, but October's just hectic for me, guys. You gotta let the brothers sleep a little bit. I haven't slept since I don't remember. That's how bad it is. But yes, definitely a show here. It's gonna be more lit. Anyone is invited. We'll have. I'm not gonna tell you what we'll have, but we'll have some exciting stuff. That's all I can speak of, or I'll get fined. So.
Well, that's fantastic. I do appreciate you guys coming out. I totally enjoyed the show. I'll say this about the album, because I have heard it.
Yes, you have.
It will definitely leave you thinking. I mean, you really opened up on this one. I mean, Blind and Silent was a good album. It was some good beats. I mean, it was catchy. I mean, you had a great variety. This one does more than tap your foot. It really cuts to the heart. I mean, it really seemed to be very personal. You were very vulnerable on it, and certainly not to take away from the beats. I mean, there's some good music on here. But even more than that, I was really taken back. There's a maturity that came about that from where I'm sitting, listening as a critic, a music critic, because I mean, like you were talking earlier, Reverberated, that you only have so many influences. I'm kind of the same way when it comes to music. I don't like just everybody, but it was just my own personal opinion from listening to the album. Thank you for the opportunity to hear it before it actually comes out. It was more than moving your head, more than tapping your foot. You really sit there and you listen, and there's moments in there that are really personal and really vulnerable, and I really enjoyed the album. I really have. And, it's one of those that you're gonna hear that song every once in a while. Alicia Keys is one of those artists that if I ain't got you, that you know what I'm saying? That it's more than just a good song. I mean, you got to hear it again because you're like, she did not just say that. Man, I was thinking about somebody while she was singing that thing,
Yeah.
And you have to listen to it like 10 times to catch all the intricacies of the piano, the keys, and just the way she changes it up. But really, the lyrics, man, you're just captivated by the lyrics. I'm just saying, it kind of had the same effect. Some of these songs on this album were kind of like, yeah, man, the beat's good, but man, I'm still listening to what he's saying. Did he really just say that? You know?
Yeah.
So was that intentional?
Getting very personal.
Yeah.
At one point, yes, and at one point, no, because I was just like, how do I keep it to where these people don't know about my life all the way? Like, I don't need them stalking me, asking me, which I have. I've had a stalker, I'm not gonna lie. Funny story, so I was promoting one of the songs off the album on Instagram, and someone messaged me. They're like, so who's the girl? I was like, what? He's like, who's the girl? I was like, what you talking about? And they're like, who is it? I'm like, don't worry about it. And it was like, but I do, it's cool though, to get very personal for the fact that you're right. Whenever you listen to, a song by Alicia Keys, like you start thinking, about someone else. You have someone in mind, and that was the goal. Was like, I want to make sure I make music for everyone. So while you're listening to it, you're gonna feel the vibe, and at the same time, you're gonna get everything that I'm giving to you. So I might put you in a memory where, that you have, put you in a spot that you probably never wanted to revisit, but the song brings you back there, and it's like, okay, like, what it is what it is, which this album had me a lot, which we were listening to one of the songs, and I was like, man, I don't want to listen to that. He's like, why? I was like, it just puts me back in a moment where I don't want to go. But it's real cool for me to be personal on it, because these people get me being me, and like I said before, you either hate it or love it. You're gonna love it more or less than you hate it, because you might hate it for the fact that I'm reminding you of stuff, but at the end you're gonna love it. And I like the fact that you brought it. It still has that. You can tap your foot, you can dance to it, of course. There's a lot of songs that I know people like to dance to on this album, because other people have got to like listen to snippets, and they've told me how they felt about it and how it just gets them in the mood to do this or that, and it's cool to hear that, and at the same time, you do get to thinking. So there is the whole dancing, the good vibes, the car ride music, but at the same time, it's like, okay, digest time. What did he say, and how do I apply this to my life, or how is it applying to my life in certain situations?
Very cool. We better wrap this thing up, guys. I certainly appreciate your time. Thank you for the information. If you need more information from these guys, I'm sure you can find them on Facebook.
Yes.
I know you guys are also on Instagram.
Yes.
And you guys are really just not that hard to find. If nothing else, you can always contact Styra First Assembly. We can definitely hook you up with these guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and thank you guys for taking some time out to kind of introduce yourselves to the world, more than just through your music.
Yeah, no problem. This has been dope.
Oh, cool. We'll holler at you guys later.
All right. Thanks.